be. And we are live.
There's a scary face to start off with.
You
done any travelling recently, Nev?
No, nothing at all. I've been on a plane for 6 weeks. Next flight is May of next year at the moment. Plane for...
Oh, it's only 2 weeks now until I do my BA
next flight
club
is May.
out to New York.
Lovely.
And then
Carlos, we are
back.
not live, I don't think.
We should be.
No? Oh, we are now.
New York,
yeah.
And then
Carlos, we are
back.
not live, I don't think.
There we go.
But we are now.
But we are definitely live. Yeah, good.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what the first experience is like on BA.
Oh, yes. Give us the report. You're at the clock, Carlos?
Yeah, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Clock is going. And here we go. Right. Let's have a good show, gents. Fader's coming down.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 573 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, Turkish Airlines may shift their large 737 MAX of order of 150 aircraft to Airbus. DHL Airbus A300 suffers a tail strike during landing at London Heathrow, and Ryanair lands with 6 minutes of fuel left following a storm and subsequent diversions. In the military, an A400M conducts a historic landing on a remote Arctic island in a NATO mission, and the National Museum of the US Air Force in Dayton, Ohio, is to display the MiG-25 Foxbat aircraft. Also joining us on the show this week is Ian Parrott from Flight Zone 320. More about Ian in a moment. And we have part 5 of the Alan Munro interview that Captain Nick did for us. So joining me from across the glorious countryside of a very gloomy UK is, of course, Neville Bounds.
Well, I'd like to say we've got lots of sunshine here, but not a bit of it. It's been extremely cloudy and not cav-okay in the slightest. It's been about 4 or 5 days of this now, this mizzle that we've had as well. So not ideal, but hey, could be worse. But no, another very active week for someone who's supposed to be retired, I must say. But no, I've had a good few days, I must say.
Plenty of time to clean the car, Nev.
Yes, and get all those old things done, like the flu jab and going to have a coffee down at the garden centre, things like that.
Well, good to see you as always, Nev. And he's back this week from his travels, wherever he's been. He's been everywhere, probably in the UK, writing programmes for Sims and all that kind of stuff. Is, of course, our resident Airbus captain and training captain. It is the legend. It is Andy. Oh, Andy.
Hello. I wouldn't go as far as legend, blame me. Nice to be back, though. And yes, I've been busy. I was in Scotland this time last week.
Oh.
And this time next week, I'll be in Paris. So, unfortunately, I won't be around next week.
Oh. Do you know, Nev, honestly, this
sorry.
bloke. But
well, as long as he steers clear of Charles de Gaulle Airport, that's fine.
Unfortunately, I have to travel through it.
Not one of my favourites, I have to say.
It's that
nice to be back,
stuck in time. Stuck in time, that airport. But no, good to see you, Andy. I take it you've not been in the sim or done any flying at all.
No, I've been working from home. It's been very nice, very normal. The only thing I have been doing is, you can't really see it on the camera, the pub's currently closed for renovation work for the winter. So there's pots of paint all over the place because I've been repainting the front of it and the back just to get it all weatherproofed so that I can enjoy it over the winter.
Oh, sounds good, Andy. And I must remember, I've got you another. I've managed to track down a proper Adnams beer towel.
Yes, lovely.
I will be sending to you very soon, so don't panic.
Good
That'll be
man,
ready for
thank
Christmas. Yeah. So we have got a special guest joining us on the show tonight. It's safe to say he's flown not just the Airbus products, but he's also flown Boeing as well, which you'll be pleased to know, Andy. He's got a very interesting business in Great Yarmouth, which is just up the road from us on the kind of the coast, just off the coast, not far from the beach, where you can actually go and fly an A320 on a fixed-base sim. So more on that later, but welcome on to the show, Ian. Ian. Hello, Ian.
Hi, thanks very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
So, Ian, we've obviously got you for the whole show. You're going to join us and chip in on the stories, because there's some stories that I think you and Andy will find quite interesting this week, especially the A300 DHL flight, which I'm sure you must have seen, Ian, on the internet. It's done the rounds on there this week.
Yeah, not the most exciting thing to watch, is it?
But I'll tell you what we will comment on first, though, Ian, is your awesome backdrop. That, just for the benefit of the listeners watching tonight, that is your actual sim.
I'll move out the way a little bit so everybody can see.
There we go. And trust me, for those of you who can see it on the YouTube feed there, it is well worth a visit if you're in East Anglia and you fancy going and having a try and flying the A320. That is definitely worth the thing. But more info on that later. We're going to see who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Going to start at the top of the list. Going to say hello to Richard Adams. Hello to you, Richard. Good to see you in the chat room. Mazouz, local listener Mazouz, hello to you. Captain Cruz is in there. Everybody is in the place. Let's go, he says. We've got David Corsten, says hello, PTUK. We've got Tanya over in the US. Hello, Tanya. Darren Smith over in Oslo. Hello, Darren. Good to see you in there. I wonder if it's chilly over there, because it's really mild here right now, Darren. Richard E. Flagg, our very own photographer of all things airfields across the UK. Hello to you. We've got Masha. Hello to Masha. Says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Bill. Wouldn't be the show without Bill in the chat room. Good evening to you as well, Bill. Tracy D. Hello to you. Jason Trussell as well. Says, evening all. Hi all. I hope everyone's well. Thank you, Jason. Hope you're well as well. And just make sure I don't miss anyone out. And everyone else who is tuned in this evening to the show. Dirk S. He's in there. Darren Smith, the livery looks stunning. Oh, they're talking between themselves in the chat room, as always. But thanks for joining us on the show tonight. Don't forget, if you're listening to us as an audio podcast, make sure you tune in on a Wednesday when we're live here at 7 o'clock to bring you the live show on YouTube. 7 o'clock every Wednesday night. And don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell icon on YouTube to be notified when we're live broadcasting shows, because we'd love to have you join us in the chat room. Right, Nev, do you want to kick off the show with the first part of, what we've got coming up now?
Yeah, lots to pack into this next section, or the first section of the show, and is the commercial news section, of course.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And just looking at the chat room, and Darren says it is +8 degrees outside. That's positively balmy in Oslo. First story this week comes to us from CH Aviation. Turkish Airlines may shift their 150 737 MAX order to Airbus. Turkish Airlines could switch its order for up to 150 737 MAX aircraft to Airbus if talks with engine maker CFM International fail to make progress, the airline's chairman Ahmet Bolat told Reuters. The carrier announced the order in September, saying that negotiations had been completed with Boeing for the purchase of the 150 aircraft. Of the 737-8 and 737-10 variants, of which 100 were firm and 50 were optional. At the same time, it firmed an order for 35 787-9s and 15 787-10s, securing purchase rights for 25 additional 787s. If negotiations with the engine manufacturer CFM International were successful, completed orders of the MAX aircraft will also be placed, the company said at the time in a notice to the market. Bolat told Reuters that disagreements between CFM and Turkish remained, and that General Electric and Safran aircraft engines venture must come to feasible economical terms. If CFM continues its stance, he said, we'll change to Airbus. With Airbus, I have choices, he said, referring to the fact that the CFM is the only engine provider for the MAX family, while the A320neo family is powered by either CFM or Pratt & Whitney. CFM International declined to disclose details of the contractual negotiations, Reuters reported, and CH Aviation data shows that Turkish Airlines orders also include 190 A321-200 Neos and 15 of the A350-1000s and 60 A350-900s and 5 of Airbus's A350 freighters. The Airbus and Boeing orders are part of Turkish Airlines' broader fleet growth strategy, and the airline is aiming for an 800-strong aircraft fleet by 2033, up from 451 currently. But, safe to say that but we've talked about this so many times on the show, and the backlog of orders between Boeing and Airbus, I don't think Boeing would be able to sustain an order of that size anyway from Turkish. I don't know.
Well, I think the problem is that it's a bit of brinkmanship, isn't it? Because everybody's in the same boat in terms of backlog of orders, and suddenly throwing a switch from Boeing to Airbus or vice versa, apart from the challenges of actually getting the aircraft delivered, there's a lot of training and crew implications as well, I would imagine, isn't there? So, yeah, that's quite a big moment. But we'll see. I mean, they're just talking about it at the moment. Whether they'll actually go ahead with that or not will remain to be seen, I think.
Yeah, I don't see what negotiation position they've got here really as well, because obviously CFM are the sole engine supplier to the 737 family, so they hold all the cards. And on the Airbus side, apart from the backlog, the Pratt & Whitney's also got its issues as well. So the only real reliable option at the moment is the Leap 1 Alpha, which is made by CFM. So it's an interesting position Turkish have put themselves in, coming out publicly saying this, but good luck to them.
Yeah. Did you hear the story we were talking about last week, Andy, about the fact that Airbus have now surpassed Boeing on the order book, on the deliveries?
Good.
The 73,
between like
the 73 and the A320. Yeah. They're now surpassed Boeing as being, they're ahead anyway. But good news.
Marvellous.
Good news, Andy, for Airbus, if this does come off. Even more orders for them to fill a backlog up with.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just going to fill the order book up for many, many more years. I don't know where they're going to get the production facilities from to make more.
Tell you, this Airbus is a good aircraft, hey?
It is, for now, until a new one comes along.
Dave, you got the next one, and some changes for your old hunting ground, I should say, or haunting ground at Heathrow.
Well, yeah, of course, I was in the lounges at Heathrow probably twice a week at one point when I was working, but on onemileatatime.com it says that a couple of days ago, British Airways formally unveiled its brand new global lounge design concept, coinciding with the One World carrier's new lounge opening in Miami. The airline has done a surprisingly good job with this, and we can expect more lounges to be rolled out with this design over the coming years. Well, whilst details remain limited, perhaps the most exciting aspect of this is a project that expects to start next year. Well, back in February of this year, BA announced plans to make a big investment in its lounges at Heathrow, and let's face it, they needed to. Whilst details remain really limited, here's what the airline announced at the time. transformational changes is quite the promise. So it sounds like we can expect more than just some new upholstery on the lounge sofas. And rumour has it that we might not just see the lounge aesthetics changed as well, but we could even see changes to which spaces belong to which facilities, meaning that there could be expansions or reductions in the sizes of the various lounges. BA was actually going to commence a major London Heathrow lounge overhaul programme back in 2020, but the pandemic caused that to be put on hold. I guess in some ways it's good that BA waited, because the carrier's new lounge designed aesthetic is actually very nice. So this will be something to look forward to, hopefully. Well, BA has a huge lounge footprint at Heathrow, given it operates out of 2 terminals and has lounges with multiple sets of entry requirements. At Terminal 5, you have the Concorde Room, which is primarily for BA first class passengers, the Galleries First Lounge, which is primarily for One World Emerald members, and 3 Gallery Club lounges for business class passengers and One World Sapphire members, with a North Lounge and a South Lounge, and one in 5B. There's also the Arrivals Lounge. Then in Terminal 3, you have the Galleries First Lounge and the Galleries Club Lounge. To state the obvious, renovations are a double-edged sword, of course. These projects can take a long time and lead to reduced lounge capacity whilst the works takes place, but that's the only way to actually improve the lounge situation. And yes, they could certainly do with a refurbishment, because some of them are looking extremely tired at the moment, certainly compared to some of the Middle Eastern competitors and the US competitors, I have to say. But yeah, it's good they're going to get on with it finally.
Are you a big lover of the lounge experience, Ian? Obviously, you've done plenty of flying, gone through plenty of airports. Do you ever make use of the lounges?
I have to say, I very rarely get to see a lounge, to be honest. We are obviously quite busy sorting out the aircraft after the sort of flights that we do. I get to see a fair few FBOs. They're quite nice. But lounges, unfortunately, not.
Sorry, just retrieving the cable from the cat. But it's safe to say, Nev, I have to say the last time that we flew out of Heathrow and got the chance to use the lounge there at T5, I must admit some parts of that lounge were looking rather tired.
Well, yeah, and of course, in the first lounge, they have the rat as well. And that's not the Ryanair turbine. That is the real rat that runs around and no one's ever caught in the last 5 years, to my knowledge. But feeds off various scraps of food from time to time. But at least he's got, the sense to go into the first lounge and not just the regular business class lounge. So, but yeah, it is looking a bit 1980s in there and a bit tired. So I'm hoping that they'll do a decent job of it.
You mean it's looking a bit Charles de Gaulle-ish?
Somewhat, yes. Yeah.
Considering it was built in 2008, it does look very old now.
It does, yeah. Couldn't agree more. And also the aircon, especially in the first lounge, is just awful. It is so hot up there, especially when you've had a couple of glasses of Pinot Grigio as well. The sweat really starts.
And a slightly contentious issue, the numbers of people using it will start to drop now with changes to the executive club programme.
Oh.
Very much so, yeah. That's going to be happening from, well, probably March of next year onwards, I would say. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see all those people like me that used to be flying business class and flying for the company won't be doing that anymore. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what sort of capacity they have. I mean, they were always over capacity in those lounges anyway, but it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Now, Andy, you've got the next story, and I take it you've seen this story this week, Andy?
Oh, yes, I've seen this everywhere. This is from aviation24.be, and it's DHL Airbus A300 suffers tail strike during dramatic landing at London Heathrow. And we do have some footage of this, and we do need to thank Big Jet TV for allowing us to use this footage as well. A DHL Airbus A300-600F sustained a tail strike during a turbulent landing attempt at London Heathrow Airport on Sunday evening, prompting an investigation by the UK Air Accident Investigation Branch. The aircraft registered Delta Alpha Echo Alpha Golf was arriving from Leipzig, Germany, as flight Quebec Yankee 2212 and was filmed by aviation live streamer Big Jet TV, bouncing repeatedly on runway 09 left before the crew initiated a go-round. During the sequence, the jet's tail struck the runway and its undercarriage briefly hit the tarmac before the pilots regained control. After circling, the freighter landed safely on runway 09 right about 20 minutes later. No injuries were reported, and the runway was temporarily closed for inspection. I think that was 09 left that was temporarily closed. Early assessment suggests that around 40 feet above the ground, a gust of crosswind destabilised the aircraft. I disagree. As thrust was reduced and spoilers deployed, the pilot reportedly pitched up sharply to avoid a hard nose gear impact, resulting in the tail strike. Weather data from Heathrow indicated good visibility with variable left crosswind, ruling out major meteorological factors. And the aircraft's 34 years old. And it began its life as a passenger aircraft with a Japanese carrier before being converted. Now, I don't know where they got their source for this, but the weather was completely benign. Max 5 knots of wind, so there's no gusts, there's nothing like that to worry about. It was nice high pressure, beautiful day. It's nothing to do with the weather, in my opinion, but I'm going to ask Ian to see what he thinks.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you, to be honest. So, as you say, the weather was very, very nice. No wind. I think I actually flew that day myself. It was a beautiful day. Looks to me, I don't like to judge what happened, but it looks to me like probably the guy who was flying it made a bit of a cock up, and the other guy tried to take over, and they tried to do a go around after the reverses and the spoilers were out, and didn't wait long enough. Basically, those engines are going to take a long while to spool up. They're big engines. I've actually been on that particular airplane, believe it or not. I actually did a jump seat ride on that airplane back from Leipzig one evening. Amazing airplane. Really is, but I imagine that's what has happened there, I would imagine.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Carlos, can you play the landing footage again?
Yeah, I'm now going to pop that on the screen right now. Here we go. We'll play that again. There we go.
So, because I've watched this several times since it first came out. And the first thing I noticed is sometimes you get, as the spoilers deploy, the centre of lift shifts forward and causes the nose to pitch up more.
Oh, easy,
but as the
son,
spoilers
easy,
deploy,
easy.
as the bounce, the amount of elevator input is really large. But once they're on the ground, I don't understand why they went around. Those wheels are firmly on. Just stop at that point. It seems like a crazy decision to me, but of course I wasn't there.
I think the other thing is that, the two things that immediately struck me were with the reversers deployed, they're still going to go around, which is just presumably an absolute no-no in normal airline operations. But the subsequent landing on 09 right, did you see how far down the runway they landed? Well beyond the touchdown zone. And it's very difficult to see where that was, but I reckon it was, 3,000 to 4,000 feet down the runway before they actually got it down again. So it was floating. Well, in fact, it was very high to begin with, actually. So how they actually got it on the deck in the end, I will never know.
Yeah, I'd suggest probably at that point they were probably so overloaded they didn't really know where they were on the runway, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Certainly going to be an interesting investigation. As it says, the AAIB are looking at it as well, so we'll see what comes out of it.
Captain Cruz in the chat room says apparently this exact Airbus had a tail strike when it was operating for Japan Airlines back in the 90s.
Oh, there you go. And just patch over the patch. It's a couple of extra rivets all the way around the side.
I was going to say this will be a rum inspection, yeah.
With reversers deployed, that's it. You should be stopping on the ground then. There's several reasons for that. Performance being the main one. There's been plenty of issues in the past, especially on older CFM engines, which this isn't fitted, where once the reversers are unlocked, they might not stow again, which can cause you even more issues in flight than just stopping on the runway. So yeah. Let's see what comes out in the investigation.
I presume that at that point, with the reversers deployed and the spoilers deployed, the aircraft's actually in quite a low energy state, isn't it?
Yes, your go-around performance is useless now, completely useless. You're in unknown territory.
You can actually see that as well when they actually get to go around. It's quite a struggle to get it airborne, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I'll say the video we've watched on there was there another shot of this as well? I don't know whether someone else had a different view of this online.
Yeah, flights, yes. the folks at 365, they did a head-on shot of it as well, and actually doesn't look quite as dramatic from the head-on shot, but the result was still the same, obviously.
Also, it's worth mentioning as well, and obviously Andy and Ian, you'll both know this. The just for the benefit of the listeners, the 300 was sort of pre fly-by-wire. If I'm right in saying, Andy.
Yes, the 600 version has a hybrid system.
But other than that, it's got on the flight deck as a yoke rather than a control stick.
Oh, yeah, but Boeing aircraft have yokes and a fly-by-wire.
Oh, true. Yeah, fair enough. True.
Not any of the ones that I've flown.
Nothing that old, Ian.
No.
More on that later. Right, next story is from uknews.yahoo.com. Good news, if you want to join the realms of Ian and Andy. UK airline launching major recruitment drive, and you don't need a degree. Oh, maybe joy for me yet. EasyJet has opened applications for its 2026 engineering apprenticeship. It's aiming to tackle a looming skills shortage in the aviation sector. The initiative comes as industry estimates suggest 27% of aircraft engineering workforces are set to retire within the next decade. A survey of 2,000 young people aged 16 to 24, that's me out then, commissioned by the airline revealed significant hurdles. 2/3 had never considered an engineering career, often due to misconceptions about their suitability. Over half believed they lacked the right qualifications, and a third reported the profession was never presented as an option at school. The research also highlighted a persistent gender disparity, with only 36% of young women considering engineering compared to 52% of young men. And Brendan McConnelly, the Director of Engineering and Maintenance at EasyJet, said, "Our engineering and apprenticeships give candidates a chance to gain valuable experience working on our state-of-the-art fleet of aircraft while helping to deliver on aviation's commitment to decarbonisation. The programme not only provides a pathway to growth professionally, but also allows apprentices to make a meaningful contribution to the success of our operations through the network. We're looking forward to opening doors to applicants from all backgrounds who are ready to take the first steps into a rewarding career in aviation." Aviation Minister Keir Mather said this engineering apprenticeship scheme marks an important step in the continuing to build a highly skilled aviation workforce fit for the future. I think one thing we always say is that without the engineers, you guys obviously would have a job flying the aircraft. So it's an important part of the industry.
Absolutely, and this is a great opportunity for people to get in the industry and learn some valuable skills that are all transferable as well to other parts of the industry. It's brilliant.
I think it's one of those things, even with pilots and stuff, for youngsters, you expect that you've got to have degrees and hundreds of GCSEs and qualifications for this, that and everything before you can even, think of becoming a pilot or an engineer like this. But it's not true, Andy?
No, as long as you've got the aptitude, and you'll get all the qualifications on the job.
There we go. If you're listening, get yourselves out there, become an engineer, and keep those aircraft flying. I mean, they're easy to work on, are they? I don't know. Dev, you've got the next story, and this is definitely one that's a weird one. We've been talking about a little bit on the show, but yeah.
It's of course, old Simon Calder on the Independent had an absolute meltdown over this this week, as you can imagine, but I am less stressed about it, I have to say. It's on the standard.co.uk, and it says that hour-long queues have been reported at one of the few European airports where the new EU's entry-exit system has taken effect on the first day of its rollout. The Schengen area, which comprises of the European Union plus Iceland, Norway and Switzerland, has a new digital border scheme. However, the Czech Republic, Estonia and Luxembourg have announced they plan to fingerprint and photograph all third country nationals. Prague is the largest airport which is rolling out the entry-exit system in full for travellers. Some have said that they had gone through checks without significant wait times, according to the Independent, but border registration machines have been installed in Terminal 1 to record biometrics with the goal of collecting this data from travellers before passport control. This has resulted in long queues building up, with people from Turkey, Egypt and the UAE reporting wait times of up to an hour. Hamilton Nash from London said, just fought through the queues, no machines operating. It's an hour to 90-minute long queue. Well, have you tried visiting the United States in the last few years? They just started allowing Australian and British passports holders to use the EU channel to ease the congestion in the airport. Stuart Lyndon Rhodes added, all machines are switched off, heading to an hour now for the delay. Fingers and eyes are being done at the passport control desk. Usual exit, glare at you, and then your passport before stamping it. The scheme is being rolled out from last Sunday, requiring Schengen area members states to make their borders EES compliant within 180 days. This means that within that time frame, member countries must store the faces and fingerprints of third country nationals, such as British citizens, on a central EU database. Michael O'Leary, chief exec of Ryanair, said, I'm pretty certain it's going to go wrong. He added, we're moving into the winter period, so there's a lot less pressure on, but I think it will be bumpy and lumpy throughout the winter. Mark Tanzer, boss of Travel Association ABTA, commented, I'm afraid there will undoubtedly be some delays as this new entry and exit system for the Schengen area comes into effect. I've not heard of sort of catastrophic problems during the week, I must say. Inevitably, with this sort of thing, you're going to get some delays for the first part of the rollout, but they've delayed it a lot already, I think, just to make sure they didn't have an absolute meltdown on day one. And you're going to get, some delays from this, I think, to begin with.
Well, I'm going to go through it on Monday next week, so I'll tell you how it goes.
Excellent.
What about you, Ian? What are your thoughts on this amazing passport visa thing?
Yes. I don't think I'd like to make any comment on that, really. It's the usual systems, isn't it? Not very well thought out, I don't think.
The usual.
But we'll see.
Because you fly over to the US quite a bit, I think, don't you, Ian? So
I do, yeah. And as Nev said, if you've been to the States recently, you'll know that an hour wait is nothing when you go there, several hours, even as crew. So, yeah, I don't think hours much of a delay, really, if I'm honest.
No. That's what I was just going to ask you, Ian, actually. I've noticed, I've not been to the US that much in the last few years, but they seem to be far fewer crew channels than previously at some of the major airports. So the delays, even in that area, it seems to be big as well.
Yeah, that's it. That seems to be how it works for us, to be honest. We don't usually manage to go through a crew channel. We'll normally have a handler who will take us through, but it's normally just with the rest of the passengers. We'll sometimes get a bit of preferential treatment, but it's a long time to get through, up to 3 hours, really, sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Is that the same for you, Andy, when you're travelling around Europe, when you travel through the airports? Do you have a specific lane, or do you just kind of get ushered through somewhere?
If I'm working as crew, then we don't get off. It's there and back. It's very few night stops for us. When I went through Amsterdam a few weeks back, it was nearly a 2-hour wait I had there as well, and that was before they put this system in. So everywhere's busy at the moment.
Well, sticking with you, Andy, and be interesting to hear your thoughts on this, and you as well, Ian, what your thoughts on this story is like.
Yeah, this is from aerotime.aero, and Ryanair flight lands with 6 minutes of fuel left following storm and diversions. A Ryanair Boeing 737-800 was forced to land below minimum safe fuel levels after attempting to land at 3 different UK airports in a storm. Although the aircraft eventually landed safely, the authorities are now investigating the circumstances surrounding the event. The affected flight was Ryanair flight FR3418 on October the 3rd, 2025, operated by the company's Malta-based subsidiary, Malta Air. The flight was scheduled to operate from Pisa in Italy to Glasgow Prestwick Airport. The aircraft involved was a 737-800 registered 9 Hotel Quebec Bravo Delta. According to CH Aviation, the aircraft is 10 years old and could take 189 passengers. The flight departed from Pisa at 17:28 local time, over an hour after its scheduled departure. The flight took off and headed northeast, routing over Switzerland, France, and up the spine of the UK towards Prestwick Airport. According to The Guardian, as the flight approached Scotland, amber weather warnings were in place for all airports in the north of the UK as Storm Amy battered the country with high winds and heavy rain. Despite the adverse warnings, the flight began the approach sequence for a landing at Prestwick. According to data obtained from Flight Radar 24, the aircraft made a single approach and landing attempt at 19:04 local time before heading south and circling the airport. In 1934, the aircraft made a second attempt at landing but aborted that attempt too. After a further 20 minutes of circling, the crew elected to head to Edinburgh Airport, its nominated alternate, to try landing there. At 20:09, the aircraft made an aborted landing attempt at Edinburgh. However, with the high winds proving too much of a challenge at Edinburgh too, the crew decided to abandon plans to land in Scotland and headed to Manchester Airport across the border in England, where the winds were forecast to be lighter. By this stage, and with 3 landing attempts behind it, as well as circling time, the aircraft's fuel reserves were running low. On approaching to Manchester, the crew issued an emergency call declaring fuel emergency and requested a priority landing. The flight touched down at Manchester Airport with just 220 kilos of fuel remaining on board, 100 kilos in the left tank and 120 kilos in the right. Under normal aviation regulations, as well as internal rules from Ryanair, aircraft must have sufficient fuel upon landing that were permitted another 30 minutes of flying time. The flight clearly had far less than this amount. Aircraft that are still airborne and whose fuel levels fall below this, as calculated by the onboard computers, are mandatorily required to declare fuel emergency. Yeah, interesting one.
Yes, quite frightening, really. And the 7.3 does, 40 kilos a minute, I think. So
yeah, it's around that.
Yeah, gives you an idea of what it burns. So, yeah, not fantastic. Makes you wonder, really. I mean, obviously, again, not being there, nobody knows what the weather was actually doing. But it seems to me if you'd got to Edinburgh, it wouldn't really matter to me at all if there was wind shear in the vicinity, to be honest. If I was at that low on fuel, I think I'd be landing.
Yeah. There's a few things here. Why didn't they take extra fuel? Which could be down to many things. They might not have actually been able to get it on with a payload. In which case, I'd probably be booting people off to make sure I could take the fuel. Yeah, that's the big one for me. And also picking an airfield. Well, the flight planned alternate was probably Edinburgh. I'd probably have changed that personally as well to somewhere far more benign and had the fuel for it. Mm-hmm. There's lots of things here, and this will definitely get investigated by somebody because that's a frightening amount of fuel to have left.
It's interesting, really, that they didn't go to Manchester initially, isn't it? Because I mean, if you were in Prestwick and it was windy, it stands to reason in Edinburgh it's going to be worse generally.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have planned to go somewhere where I knew I could get in. But again, this is what happens on the day. The weather, especially first the forecast. I know Storm Amy was heavily publicised and stuff, but normally you'll go and try your destination because that's what we're paid to do. That's the job. But as soon as you've tried that and you know you're not getting in, then you go for a bolt hole where you know you're safe. Make yourself feel warm and cosy. Don't put yourself in a position that you might not be able to get out of.
Yeah, we were fairly lucky on that day. And I did actually fly that day, and I think it was gusting 40. I think. Sort of 60 degrees off. Still quite challenging in an Airbus, but nothing like they experienced up there, I don't.
Yeah.
I was going to ask
it's
Ian,
become a handful.
On the flight deck on that aircraft, Ian, what sort of alarms or warnings would you be getting as a pilot? You know,
you wouldn't get any, really. You'd get wind shear warnings on the later ones, but that's about all you get, really. The 7.3 is fairly non-technical, really. I mean, the Airbus would be shouting at you the whole time, but you wouldn't really get much on the 7.3, to be honest. Not that I remember.
And
you get the master once the fuel got that low, you get the master caution, and the fuel light would light up on the glare shield in front of you. But that's it to draw your attention to the tanks.
But I guess at that point they would all have been aware of their fuel state, and it wasn't.
I hope so.
They needed reminding of. They already knew that.
I think the other two things that struck me was that let's say that they had to go around at Manchester that was not weather related. So maybe the aircraft landing in front of them had burst a tyre on the runway or had become disabled or something like that, or hadn't cleared the high speed exit in time and they had to go around that. I mean, that they probably wouldn't have made it back, I don't think, into Manchester with that amount of fuel. But also, can you imagine what the atmosphere was? I mean, I know, we're talking to two pros here that have been there and done it, but I definitely feel that both of you have got a bit of sympathy for the crew here, because actually being on the flight deck on the day in those situations must have been horrific for them, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've had not as bad as that, but I had a similar situation many years ago now. And all these things that we call it Swiss cheese, everything, all the holes line up. I can remember leaving, I think it was Hurghada, on a 7-3, heavily loaded, tried to get everybody on board, and we were going up to Frankfurt, I believe. The weather was okay, but unfortunately, as we got there, something crashed on the runway. And then we was, we were sort of in a bit of a situation, really, while they cleared everything up. And I think we landed with 650 aside, which was low enough for me, to be honest. That's still above the legal requirement, but not a comfortable position to be in, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not. I've never dropped below 30 minutes either, but the lowest I've landed was about 1,200 kilos as well, and it's not comfortable at all. But going back to your previous point there, Nev, say somebody had crashed, tyre burst, something in front of you. In that situation, once you've in an emergency like that, all the rules go out of the book. Take Manchester, the way both runways are staggered, you could actually step to the other one last minute. It'll be a messy manoeuvre, but you don't have any choice. The amount of fuel it burns in a go-around, as soon as you firewalled those levers, those would stop burning and turning very quickly. So you've just got to pick the least worst option at that point, and then worry about it later.
Chat room, we've got a question. Let me just bring that up here. The chat room, we've got a question from Bill. Has sent, who determines what the alternate sites are? Is it the dispatcher or the flight crew?
So in the UK, we don't have, especially in low-cost airlines, I don't know about the airline that Ian flies for, we don't have dispatchers in the sense where they do in the States, where they come up with a flight plan. It's all automatic. It's all done by a system, and it just sends it to you and says, there you go, that's what the computer thinks. Ultimately, it's down to us to look at it and go, is this sensible? Is this the right thing to do? And then it normally gives you, on the type of flight plans we use anyway, a couple of pages in, a list of other alternate options and how much extra fuel they are. So then you can go, actually, in this case, Manchester's a better option. How much extra fuel is that? 300 kilos extra. We'll carry that as well, so that we've got that as an option. So ultimately, the company normally decide for you, but it's always the commander's final decision on it.
So the golden rule, Andy, is that you carry a minimum of 30 minutes extra fuel then for a trip.
One of the 30 minutes of final fuel, that's a legal requirement that has to be on board. But then you start adding on extra after that. So you've got your alternate fuel, that's part of the flight plan. Then you can add extra on if you want to hold, extra on for another approach somewhere else. You can stack up the fuel pretty quickly if you want to carry it. But of course, carrying extra fuel burns extra fuel.
Yeah, or tankering. Called that? I think it's tankering, isn't it, Andy?
Tankering's a bit different. That's if you're taking fuel down route to use for the way back.
Ah. There we go.
Yeah, tankering is a sort of a thing that we used to do on the 7.5 because.
I
think we've lost Ian.
And a sector, when we were doing long sectors, by just making the right decision on fuel, really, taking it and carrying it instead of buying it there.
We lost you for a second there, Ian, but we caught the last bit of that. Your connection just dropped a little bit there.
Oh dear!
Don't panic. It's fine.
A little bit funny there.
But you were saying you've done tankering before with the 7.5. I'd imagine with that aircraft that you'd probably need to tanker fuel with the amount of fuel it uses. But let's not forget the 757 is still an awesome aircraft.
Yes, it is.
There we go. Right, last story, and this is from airportindustrynews.com. Frankfurt Airport's Terminal 3 to open in 2026. Never been to Frankfurt before. Fraport AG has officially announced this week that Frankfurt Airport, the Terminal 3, will open in April next year. The airport operator recently received official approval for the terminal's full operation. Final touches are now being implemented with the terminal, including the installation of 21 security check lanes with modern CT scanners, an expansion of retail and catering areas, always important, and the commencement of a baggage handling system tests. Extensive trial operations are also set to begin at Terminal 3, with roughly 8,000 test passengers expected to test the terminal's capabilities over 21 days between the 27th of January and the 16th of April 2026. Construction for the site first began back in October 2015, with the 10-year construction period resulting in a terminal that will serve up to 19 million passengers per year across its 3 piers, Golf, Hotel and Juliet. All work has been handled by Fraport Asbau SUD GmbH, a wholly owned subsidiary of Fraport AG. Once operational, airlines will begin operating flights to both Schengen and non-Schengen areas starting in mid-April until the beginning of June. All 57 airlines currently operating in Terminal 2 will relocate to Terminal 3 in 4 waves. Not an airport I've flown through. Nev, you frequented
I have.
Frankfurt?
Yeah, a lot back in the day. Yes, I used to go through Frankfurt a lot to go to other places. I've always had this difficult relationship with Frankfurt Airport in the fact that every time I used to land there, which is normally the BA or Lufthansa flight going in there, the next flight I had to get was a short connection time and a long way away as well. I remember that Stuttgart had the same situation as well at one point, but obviously Frankfurt is so big anyway. But yeah, I mean, they're getting on with it, aren't they? Goodness me, that's a lot of expansion there. But of course, it's a massive hub airport as well, especially for the Middle Eastern carriers and for the US as well. So yeah, I think they that's the thing with German infrastructure, they just get on with it in general terms, don't they? Compared to the UK, that's for sure.
How about you, Ian? I'm guessing you've flown into Frankfurt.
Yes, many times into Frankfurt. Used to go a lot on the 146 actually many years ago when it was a little bit smaller. We also do some work out there as well occasionally. I can't actually tell you what that is, but we do some work out there now and again. So yeah, it's a massive airport, and as Nev said, really the Germans, they just get on with it, don't they?
And yes, you did hear him right, Andy. Ian did fly the 146.
Yeah, awesome plane. And that reminds me, once we're finished, Ian, I need to ask you about somebody on that as well that I knew.
Right, that brings to a close the commercial news segment for this week. And up next, it is a favourite part of the show for many people. And we've got a double bubble for you this week, haven't we, Nev?
We have. And this week we go way back to an airline that has the best looking flight attendants, according to Moray Amsterdam, and to an airline where it's always smiles and more.
Pretty obvious because I fly it all the time. San Francisco, I flew it last week to Las Vegas. Every opportunity, many reasons. First of all, you probably have the best looking stewardesses in all of the airline business. Your flights are at least 99% of the time on time, and it's comfortable and they take good care of you, and I like it, and that's why I fly PSA.
Catch our smile, our super smile, PSA. Let us show you how to fly.
There's a new airline in Hawaii with more convenience from the ground up.
Spread your wings against the sky.
With more comfort in more ways.
Lifting up and soaring high.
An airline committed to make flying easier than ever before. By now you've probably guessed it's not a new airline, just a new way to fly.
Let us show you how to fly. Aloha Airlines.
There we go. What a name. Maury Amsterdam.
Yep. He's a man who knew what he liked in life, wasn't he?
He knew what... Oh, dear. PSA, the airline that had the awesome aircraft with the smiley face on. Yeah, I love that. Love that. And Hawaiian as well. And PSA had the TriStar. Just thought I'd drop that one in there. PSA also had the TriStar. I think PSA are one of the few airlines that had the TriStar with the lower lounge, actual guest lounge in the hold of the aircraft. But yeah. What do you think of that, Nev?
Oh, great. I mean, there's just no end to this content. I thought, as I said the other week, I'm sure we'll be running out of these at some point, but there's just so many that go back to the 70s and 80s for the most part, don't they? So, yeah, it's fascinating to see it all, isn't it? How it used to be. When flying was different to how it is today.
So many American ones, though, Nev. It's like there was way more American adverts for airlines back in the 70s and 80s than there was UK airlines.
Yeah, very much. I mean, because our chums in the US, they know how to. They've always known how to do marketing and being loud and proud with it. And of course, prime time advertising and on all the cable channels and all the rest of it was perfect for them. So, and in cinemas too. Wasn't just restricted to the TV.
You remember the PSA, Ian? One of those airlines?
I don't remember them, actually, no.
Smiley face airline. Anyway, sticking with you, Ian, we've got you on the show. We've managed to grab you, to get you on the show, because a few months back I was lucky enough to go and fly up to North Deans, which is sort of Great Yarmouth way, north end of East Anglia here, not far from the beach, and on a hot and sunny day flew up with our listener Andrew into the little airfield there, which is an up-and-coming GA airfield. I'm sure Ian will tell us more on that later. But got to meet our guest tonight, Ian, who's joined us to talk about not only his career, but also the awesome sim that's currently behind him, if you're watching in YouTube. So welcome on again, Ian, to the show. Thanks for joining us this evening. Great to see you.
Yeah, it's been great to be here, actually. A very interesting subject you're talking about tonight. So, yeah, here we are. Flight Zone 320, my new baby, really. Something I always wanted to do. And that's why I did it, really, just because I've always wanted to do it. I wouldn't say it's going to make me £1 million, but it's great fun. And a nice way to kind of end flying, really. So I've been sort of flying now since 2008 commercially. I've been with the same airline the whole way through. I've flown some really interesting aeroplanes. So I started off on the BA146. I flew that for probably 4 or 5 years, and always wanted to be on a 737. In fact, I had a 737 rating before I actually got the job where I am now. But they put me on the 146 instead. So I got to get two type ratings all at once. And then eventually I moved on to the 737, and I flew that for a couple of years. Then I was lucky enough to get command on it, and did some amazing trips with it. We sort of did a lot of just UK flying, Europe, and I also managed to take an old 737-300 around the world, believe it or not, with no GPS, no HF radios. It was quite a trip. Took 3 or 4 months to do it. Because we actually took the World Cup all the way around the world, which was quite interesting. Not the last one, the one before that. So I flew that for quite a while, and then I was lucky enough to get offered the most awesome aircraft in the world, which was the 757. So I started flying that. I forget how long ago it was now. Probably about seven or 8 years ago, and again, been to some really fantastic places in that. An awesome aeroplane. That aeroplane will go absolutely anywhere. I've been around the world in that as well, several times actually. And I was flying that actually when COVID happened. So when COVID happened, obviously aviation died overnight. So I was like the rest of us, really sitting at home wondering what on earth I was going to do. And my company offered me the chance to go back to the 737 and go and fly some Amazon parcels around. So that's what I did. So I went off to Southend, and I worked the entire COVID, well, the whole of COVID really, based in Southend, mostly 6 days a week somehow. I don't know how we managed that, but it was. And it was the most fantastic time to be flying. There was nothing else up there, just us. We'd take up from Southend, and they would just say, "Where do you want to go?" Barcelona. Yeah, just go there. And no one else up there but us. When that finished, COVID came and went, and I got the chance to go back on the 75, which I did. And then they unfortunately decided to sort of retire it. So I was left with not really much of a choice, really. It was the Airbus. Now, initially I wasn't that excited, but I have to say I've been on it 3 years now, still learning something every single day of the week. It is a fantastic airplane. I really enjoy flying it.
Now, after asking, where did the whole kind of flying start with you? I mean, was at a young age you got your PPL? Cessna 150s, PA-28s?
So I initially did a PPL. I'm a bit of a strange character, really. So I did a PPL, but I always had this ambition to be a commercial pilot. But I didn't tell anybody, particularly my wife at the time, because she wouldn't have been very interested in that. So I gradually just did a few exams here and there. I was a truck driver at the time, believe it or not, so I had plenty of spare time while I was sitting around places waiting to unload. So I did. I self-studied basically, and then came the sort of the big kick. Really was when a friend of mine asked me. He's my best mate actually. He's still my best mate today. He asked me what my plans were. So I said, well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and fly a 737, and that's what I'm going to do. And he looked at me and he said, let me tell you this. He said, you will never fly a 737 as long as you have a hole in a certain part of your body. And I said, oh, really? And to be honest, that's one of the main reasons I did the job, just because he said I couldn't.
And now look at you. 75, 76, 146, 321. The world is your oyster.
That's about it, I think. Yeah, no plans to go anywhere else. Airbus is where it'll finish up, I think, now.
So, food comments in the chat room, Ian. We've got Carl Slaymaker. He's saying, amazing, he said. He said he lives in Southwold, so he's definitely going to have to book a simulator experience with you soon. So
that's fantastic. Good to hear.
Tracy D in the chat room is asking, where is the most impressive airport you've landed?
Oh, no, that's a good question. I've got some favourites. I would say my favourite is Tahiti, I would say. I just love the place. And the worst one I've landed in, probably Kathmandu. Kathmandu I've been to a couple of times. That's quite challenging.
James Taylor, not sure if you'll be able to answer all this one, but Ian says, Ian, talking about the 737 and 75 flying around the world, what type of operation were you flying for? He says, is that something?
So this 73, we basically took the World Cup and we took it to around the whole world. To some places that liked football and some places that didn't. I remember there was a major issue to get to Tonga because it's a long way from anywhere. And when we finally got there, they don't even like football; they only like rugby.
And an interesting one from Darren Smith in the chat room. He's saying, obviously, with the simulator you've got behind you there, as Airbuses are similar kind of flight deck rating, can you update the software for it to be a 330, 350, or even a 380?
No, unfortunately not. No, so it's set up as a 320 Neo, which is what it'll remain. I think you probably could fly something different with it, but it's not something that I'd be looking to do, to be honest.
Nev, have you got any questions for Ian?
I've got a question for you. I mean, you slightly glossed over it, but I'm fascinated by this, Ian. Doing a round-the-world trip in a 737 without any HF radio, how did that work?
We didn't know we didn't have an HF radio, obviously, before we left. We did have one when we left. We never had any GPS because that particular 73 didn't have any anyway. And gradually things got worse as we went around the world, really. At one point, we had one fuel gauge that stopped working altogether. So what are you going to do? So we just had to either fill the thing up or just fill the wings up and keep an eye on what was going on, really. With regard to the HF, we just had to do relays with other aircraft. We were doing relays with Qantas aircraft and people like that as we were getting down towards Australia. It's fascinating flying, really.
Gosh, yeah. Of course, is used because of its longer range, I'm presuming, isn't it, compared to VHF frequencies?
Yes, it is, but it's awful to use. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure Andy will tell you that. It's absolutely awful. We don't really use it very much now. We use it over the Atlantic still, but not very often. And we use it, I'm sure Andy would have used it on the Tango routes, probably coming out of Tenerife, I'm guessing.
Andy?
Yep, absolutely. Fortunately, Satcom and Aircars has taken over now, which is far better.
Yeah, with HF, there's just so much static, isn't there? It's the intelligibility must be horrific, I would imagine, when you've got a headset on.
I think
hard
it's
work.
worse for that because there's so many different. Everybody uses the same frequency sometimes, so you don't even know who you're talking to. You know, so it's quite an art to actually use HF.
Yeah, and it depends on the state of the atmosphere at the time as well. That can make a huge difference. Sometimes at night you can be, as Ian said there, you can be tuning one frequency thinking you're talking to Santa Maria or somebody, but the atmosphere conditions are so perfect you can pick up New York. It's crazy.
Yes. Another question in the chat room from Masha, one of our listeners from the Netherlands. She says, do your customers for the sim already have some flight training, or are they complete novices?
Oh, is Ian there? Is he just
got another?
Has he got another glitch with
another penny in the meter?
Another penny in the meter, Ian.
Yeah, I've just put 10 pence in this time, so it should be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear the question from Masha, Ian?
I didn't actually. I heard the start of it. Can you say again?
She says, yeah, do your customers for the sim already have some flight training experience, or are they complete novices?
We've had both, really. So we've had people with absolutely no experience, who've done a little bit. But you can sometimes the people who've never flown anything before make a really fantastic job of it.
Oh, it's gone again. The signal's gone again.
It's that HF, you see.
It's that HF.
Oh, no, HF is all right, isn't it? It's the VHF that's not very good. Yeah. Oh, dear.
Ian's having trouble with his HF. Are you back with us, Ian?
I think I am, yeah. It's the HF, what we're trying to use here. Did you get the answer to that question?
Yes, more or less. Yes, you said that you've got some people. In fact, some people you said that were complete novices actually made quite a good job of it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we've seen some fantastic things. We had a young lad in here the other week who absolutely amazed me. He may as well be him. Well, it's like he's been doing it his whole life. Had his little brother sitting next to him doing the gear and the flaps for him. Fantastic.
Darren Smith over in Oslo, Ian, is asking quite a good question here. How did you find the change from not a normal yoke to side stick, obviously moving from the Boeing to the Airbus?
I didn't actually find it that difficult. I think when I went, a lot of people, when they come from a Boeing, they don't really want to go to the Airbus, and they kind of they spend most of their time moaning about how great the Boeing was. I didn't really go with that attitude. I just went with the attitude of, well, it's an aeroplane and it flies the same as any other aeroplane. So I took to it like a duck to water, really.
There we go. Because Andy, if I remember rightly, you actually you've had a bit of sort of flight experience with the Boeing as well, haven't you?
I haven't flown it on the line. I've got a lot of time in simulators, various Boeing models, but the only thing I've actually jet-wise flown out on the line is the
Airbus
bus.
Mm. And any questions for Ian, Andy?
I think I know what the answer is going to be to this one. But the first question is, what's your favourite type that you've flown?
That's a really difficult question. I mean, I love the Airbus now, to be honest. It's such a fantastic day out. And you have a table as well, of course, which we're not usually used to having on Boeings.
Very civilised.
Yes, yeah. But obviously the 757 is the most awesome aircraft in the world. And I don't know that I'd still be able to fly it, to be honest, but it was a fantastic piece of kit.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I've never flown it. I've flown the sim, but I'd love to have flown the real thing. And my second question, what challenges did you find transitioning from non-fly-by-wire to fly-by-wire?
Yes, now that's an interesting one. That is, and some of those things I start to think about today. So, for instance, with a Boeing, you can sort of get it near the runway, and if it's not going too well, you can sort of mess around with it a little bit and sort it out. But the Airbus, if you kind of, let's say, for instance, you had a bounce landing on the Boeing, you could sort that out. On an Airbus, you just must do nothing, because if you try and do anything, you just make it worse. And I found that quite difficult to just, just to relax and just let it do it. Not that I've had that many bounce lands, but I've had one that I can remember, So I didn't find it too difficult, really, to be honest.
Good. And how about systems-wise? Because it gives a lot more information on the systems.
Yes, I think the thing about the systems is it gives you all the information, but Airbus aren't very good at letting you know what all those things are. And so I found that, when I started the type rating on it, there wasn't a lot of information. So they'd say, oh, it does this. Well, why does it do that? Oh, you don't need to know that. I'd kind of like to know that. Oh, no, you don't need to know that. And so you kind of do a lot of learning as you get on the line. And you learn something from the most lowly first officer will do something one day, and you say, what did you just do? And he'll say, I didn't know it did that. Oh, yeah, it does this, and it does this. And, so everybody learns different things about the Airbus. It's a fantastic bit of kit.
Yeah, it's a shame. Back when I did my type rating 15 years ago now, the FCOM used to have far more detail in it, and they've just slowly stripped it out. Because like you said, their philosophy is, well, there's nothing you can do about that, so you don't need to know. But it's a shame. Pilots always want info. We want to soak it up and know it all. But yeah, it's still out there in places.
I can actually remember that when I came off the 146 and I went on to the 73, and I can remember asking the guy who was a TRE actually, and I said, so how do I get some VOR needles up to see where I'm going? He said, oh, you don't need to. He said, it's got a map. I said, but how do I get needles? He said, well, you don't really. I said, well, what if the map goes wrong? He said, it doesn't. And that was the end of that.
Brilliant.
Bill has got a question for you in the chat room. Says, do pilots versus non-pilots find a difference using the sim being a fixed base unit versus one with a motion base?
I'll be honest, the average person would sit in there and they'll think they're actually moving. It's the visuals. Well, I'm sure you remember that, Carlos. The visuals stunning in it. And yeah, you wouldn't, as a non-pilot or a non-commercial pilot who hasn't been in a full motion sim, you wouldn't really notice, to be honest.
Interesting.
The human brain is sorry, guys. The human brain is easily tricked, especially when your peripheral vision and your main vision is full of a tilted image. It just tells your brain that you're moving.
I absolutely 100% agree. Standing behind Nev in the fixed base sim where we were at Cambridge, Nev, watching you and standing behind there, and you feel you have to put I had to put my hand out and hold myself because you feel like you're moving left and right. So it is very much that case. One for Andy and Ian. This one. From Darren Smith over in Oslo says, have any of the pilots here, Andy and Ian, ever spilt a drink or coffee over the instruments, and did it cause any problems?
I have.
Oh, coffee or tea, Ian?
It was a little worse than that. It's back in the days when we used to be able to smoke on the flight deck.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it was the last of a cup of coffee with a couple of cigarette butts in it, unfortunately.
Oh dear. I've never spilled anything.
Because you always use your table, Andy?
No, I make sure I keep everything away from centre console, everything, because I'm paranoid that if I get anything on there, there's a lot of electronics under that floor that I don't want to mess up.
James Taylor's got a question, hasn't he, Nev?
Yes, he says a bit of a left field question for Airbus pilots, including Ian, when you move from the right-hand seat to the left-hand seat, and therefore right hand on the stick to your left hand on the stick, how does that feel, and how different is that?
That's an interesting thing, really. I never flew the Airbus from the right-hand seat. I am right-hand seat checked now, so I have. But I don't seem to. The only thing with it's not to do with the stick, really. It's to do with finding everything else in the flight deck. On the 73, I'd flown that both seats, so I could do it from either seat. But on the Airbus, I find this in the sim now that I'm fine with the stick, but it's finding everything else. So everything's in the wrong place. If I try and find the seatbelt signs, I can't find those. I can't find anything. So I think you do get a certain muscle memory from the seat that you sit in.
Yep, I'm constantly jumping between seats, and I have to do exactly that. Flying it's totally fine. But when it comes to pushing buttons and flicking switches, I have to slow right down and make a very active effort. What am I actually pressing here? Because it's very easy to do the wrong thing.
Now, I'm going to pop up some pictures on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube of what is behind Ian right now, the sim, just in case. There we go. If you want to see it. So, Ian, tell us a bit about the process of getting this sim, because obviously there's a lot of us watching, especially me, just saying, who would love to have something like this in their garage or in their house, to be fair. But how much of a mission was it to get this installation done?
Well, I basically decided many years ago that I wanted to do it, but I had no idea how I was going to actually, put this all in place. So I probably last year I started thinking about it a little bit more seriously. So I had a little look around, did a bit of research. I was very, very lucky because there's some guys in Brighton, a company called Gate 20 in Brighton. Andy's probably familiar with them because a couple of the guys there work for EasyJet actually, and they'd actually already bought this particular sim. So I went down. They were kind enough to let me go down and have a look. And after speaking to them for a few hours, I realised that they'd actually done all the research. They'd been all around the world and looked at different simulators, and this seemed like the one to have. So basically, I contacted the guys in Italy, which is where it's made. That's quite challenging because I don't speak Italian, and unfortunately, they don't speak very much English. But somehow we managed to sort of work the process out, and it arrived in early June, I believe it arrived. It's been a lot of work in progress. They fitted it. That wasn't quite as simple as it sounds. We had to get it into the building for a start, because what you see behind you now is how it came, really. So we had to do a bit of dismantling. We had to take a window out and squeeze the thing in and then build it back up again. So they were very good. I mean, the hardest thing I think was the visuals. We had to make quite a few changes here because we didn't realise quite how big it's going to be. I know that sounds naive, but I was originally looking at a 737 sim, and I had all the dimensions for that, and I naively thought that this one would just be a few centimetres bigger. That isn't quite how it turned out. So we did have quite a few changes to make. So it's been hard work, but it's in now, and ready for everybody to come and try it.
And I think you'll have a few of our listeners tonight probably going to come and definitely Carl, for one, is definitely going to come and book up with you. Being our local listener over in Southwold, he'll come and see you. But sort of, how can people obviously give you an email and get in touch through the website? Is it which is above your head, funnily enough? We can see.
Yeah, you can see the website address above me actually at the moment. Yeah, and on there you can buy sessions. We do 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90-minute sessions. We also do some gift vouchers as well, so you can buy gift vouchers. You can add them together to make up a session if you like. And you can, if you visit the website, all of that information is on there. Alternatively, you can email me, which is Ian at flight-zone.co.uk.
Now, I know, Andy, you obviously spend a lot of time in the sim, but I think even when you're this way, when you come and visit us here in East Anglia, and I think even you'd have a go at this.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks great. Looks like a very true-to-life representation.
Very good, very good. And I'm not going to ask how much it was, Ian, because I know it was a few quid. But I shall, continue saving. I think is the way forward.
Or just
stop spending money on aircraft parts.
Yes, Ian's seen all those as well. Oh dear, honestly, I'm not the only one. There's plenty of people in the chat room who also purchase pieces of aircraft and bits and pieces. But it is awesome. It is an awesome bit of kit in, and we are lucky to have you on the doorstep as such here for us living in East Anglia. But Nev, I think when you're up next time, we'll have to take a trip up and see Ian and have a flight somewhere.
Yeah, we'd love to. That's, it looks very nice indeed, Ian. That's taken a lot of work to get it as good as it is, and looks fantastic. I'm in my world. I'm sort of from the video projection side of things many years ago, and the leaps and bounds that we've had with that technology has really enabled the realism of these simulators to be fantastic. And along with those sort of that soft edge blend and the peripheral vision, it really does complete the whole picture quite literally, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And quite excitingly, in January, the guys from Italy are coming across to do some more work on the visuals. I mean, they're already stunning, but they have another plan now. So they're coming across in January to do some work. So looking forward to that.
Carl, who's over in Southwold, Ian, again, he said that he's asked a question. Do you have to fly with the instructor, as yourself, or can a friend and him fly it as they are having a little bit of flying experience?
Yeah, absolutely they can. In fact, I encourage that, really. I mean, I'm quite happy to sit in the middle and just guide if they need any guidance. But if not, they can just crack on and fly it. That's absolutely fine. Saves me the job.
We're going to put the links to the website in the show notes for the show as well. But for those of you watching and listening, it is absolutely, definitely worth a visit over there to go and see Ian. Book yourself up, have a go. I'm definitely going to be going back again very soon and having some fun. Well, I say fun, some learning fun, I should say, on the sim with Ian. So I'm looking forward to that. But stick with us, Ian. We're going to do some few more bits on the show, 4 more bits on the show before we wrap up. But stick with us, Ian, if you can. We'll move on to the next part of the show, Nev, which is what?
It's the military part of the show.
Oh, you could have given me a bit more of a segue than that, Nev. All right, here we go.
Lost up buggies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 108 buggies.
And the first story this week in the military news comes to us from aviationist.com. RAF A400M, an aircraft I was lucky enough to sit on the flight deck of at RIAT a few years back. It's been revealed on October the 9th. It's a first of a kind operation in the remote Arctic island NATO mission. In cooperation with the US and Norway, in late September, as part of an operation, the RAF A400M Atlas transport aircraft landed for the first time on Norway's Jan Mayen Island in the Norwegian Sea, airlifting there a US Marine Corps JLTV, or Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, as well as British and US and Norwegian personnel. Notably, the Royal Air Force disclosed the JLTV was meant to simulate the Nemesis, or Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, as forms part of the Corps' island hopping expeditionary advanced base of operations concept in the Western Pacific. It was live fired in the latest edition of the exercise Baltacan with the Philippines earlier this year. The mission demonstrated the Royal Air Force's ability to deliver critical capabilities to austere locations, reinforcing NATO's readiness in the north, or high north. According to the press release, operations were conducted from 2 locations on the island, supported by the RAF, the Royal Marines, and the Norwegian Armed Forces. The trilateral effort between the UK and US and Norway had been a few months in the making amid a hardening posture against Russia, both eastwards in Europe and northwards towards the polar regions. NATO says the high north is strategically vital, describing it as a gateway between North America and Europe and a key arena for securing transatlantic supply routes. The volcanic island of Jan Mayen is 377 square kilometres in size, located around 1,000 kilometres west from northern Norwegian mainland coast, sitting almost midway between Norway and Greenland, north of Iceland. The Norwegian Ministry of Defence reported on June the 19th that a joint reconnaissance of the island with the UK and the US to strengthen understanding of demanding Arctic conditions and plan future training. Bit chilly up there, Nev, I will say.
Oh, yes, it will be. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, well, that's the right aircraft to do it with, isn't it? So, yeah, fascinating stuff. And yeah, I didn't realise that it was a volcanic island either. So I've learned something there.
The red dust, yeah.
I'd like a job in the military department that comes up with these ridiculous names for all of these, what do you call them?
Acronyms.
They're not, well, they're sort of acronyms, aren't they? Yeah, but there's so many in these stories. I want a job making some of these up to see if anybody spots what's real and what's not.
Yes. Oh dear! Yeah, you just stick with TCAS RA and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh dear, Nev. This is a good bit of news for Mr. Warner. I don't know if Mr. Warner's in the chat room this evening, but
yeah, it's on Vintage Aviation News, and it says that recently the National Museum of the US Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, announced the restoration of its Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-25, NATO codename Foxbat, the only one of its kind displayed in the United States. Known by Cold War aviation aficionados for its high-speed, high-altitude performance, the display of the MiG-25 will allow visitors an opportunity to see the aircraft that's been in storage since the museum acquired it in 2006. The MiG-25 was originally developed by the Soviets in the 1960s as part of an effort to counteract high-speed, high-altitude American bombers, such as the US XB-70 Valkyrie. After the prototype was first flown on March the 6th, 1964, the public reveal of the MiG-25 was made during an air show held at Moscow's main airport in July 1967. Though the MiG-25 was capable of flying at speeds up to Mach 3.2, this drained fuel from the aircraft at an exponential rate, and would require the replacement of the aircraft's 2 Tumansky R-15 engines, which were only originally designed to be used in large cruise missiles. As such, the aircraft's operational top speed was generally confined to Mach 2.83. Additionally, the aircraft was constructed largely of stainless steel rather than aluminium to withstand the excessive heat generated by the friction of moving at speeds over Mach 2.8. Whilst this was cheaper and easier than building the aircraft out of titanium, it also meant that the plane was too heavy to be an agile dogfighter, but the aircraft was primarily used for long-range engagements or for reconnaissance. Yeah, Mach 3.2, you're going to be burning a lot of fuel, aren't you? Oh, goodness me.
I'll tell you what a gorgeous-looking aircraft. Just look at that.
Well,
I mean, isn't that stunning? And that travelled how fast, Nev? Mach?
Well, Mach 2.83. Yeah.
The fastest bit of steel in the world. Sheffield steel.
Yeah. Yeah, you can imagine the heat generated by that, can't you?
Yeah, phenomenal.
Well, Concorde at Mach 2, I think if the heat got over 127 degrees centigrade on the nose, they had to reduce speed. That was the limiting factor there. So at Mach 2.83 with not such an aerodynamic design, I have to say. Must have been something else, I would imagine.
Jonathan Warner is in the chat room. He said, apparently, shock horror, the MiG-25 is something I've still never seen, he says.
Oh, okay.
Blimey, that's a first.
Right.
Put that one in the diary. Yeah, I'll just read the chat room there. Good to see Mr. Warner in there. He's still going through his photos from Riyadh, I expect. Still doing that. But, that is the military segment done for this week. So we're going to have a quick, look at, or I say a quick look, we're going to look at the next part of the important series that Captain Nick done with you, Nev, as well. You went over to see Alan Munro. So what's this next part about?
Yeah, just for Ian's benefit, we've been doing a series with Alan Munro, former RAF fast jet pilot. I went to interview him a few weeks ago. Captain Nick is our other resident Airbus chum who was a captain on the A330 and A340 and spent a lot of time in the military as well previously. But in this part, Alan describes his time in the Air Force during the period of the existence of the Berlin Wall. And he also tells us of his time on the Phantom and what some of the challenges were in flying it.
But anything else you remember back from those days of the wall?
I can remember the wall. Well, the wall was just there, but I remember going to Treptow Park, where there was this massive statue of a Russian soldier with a sword in one hand and a baby cradled in his arm, and this is how they saw themselves as the great victors of Berlin. Never mind the truth, what actually happened. But the Russians said there were 10,000 troops buried in Treptow Park. The Brits reckoned there were 30,000.
Oh, wow.
There were 3 enormous mass graves, and the Brits reckoned there were 10,000 in each one.
Oh, good Lord.
And I can remember the 2 T-34s pulled up against the Russian War Memorial. And the word was that these had been pulled off the street just immediately after the surrender, and the Russians knew exactly where the delineation was going to be between the sectors, and they pulled these 2 T-34s into the British sector and positioned them back to back, and they reckon that there are still bodies inside, and they just welded up the access.
Oh, good Lord.
And that gave them right of access to change the guard on the War Memorial. And they had right of access looking after Rudolf Hess in the Spandau prison. Now, our response to that was the weekend bus tour for the families, run by an education officer.
Yes. Okay.
and the Americans, of course, did the same thing. And their guys at Checkpoint Charlie were absolutely superb. Yeah, they were wearing fatigues all the times I went through. And white helmet, white belt, white gaiters, white gloves, incredibly polite. They were brilliant. You go to Berlin now and you see these ridiculous actors poncing around this garden shed that's supposed to be Checkpoint Charlie. And they don't realise it's a shrine. And the old Berliners, the old Berlin hands, are absolutely devastated by what's happened and how lightly the young have chosen to view Checkpoint Charlie as a tourist attraction. The head-on attack with the Sparrow missile was absolutely as advertised, and you had enough room to do it. You then have the problem of the stern conversion, and in those days we had the AIM-9 Golf, which could only be fired from the stern, as you know. And of course you've then got the Mongolian hordes pouring across the border, and you don't know who you're turning your backside up to.
Yeah.
And that was a real problem. And of course, in peacetime constraints, you couldn't go particularly fast. So you really were stuck with a stern conversion, putting your backside up to the enemy and not having a clue what's behind you. And that was a real problem.
Interesting, yeah.
Now, that was assuming a low-level attack, and then we got muddled up because the Americans decided at one stage, this came later, that they could manage full electronic backing, including comms jamming, but only for 2 raids a day, and NATO at the time was planning 8. So that meant that the others, the 6, had to go at low level, hadn't got any choice. Whereas the Americans allowed themselves access at medium level with this massive jamming that they planned. Do you remember the Charlie 130H? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the EC-130. I've got some gun camera film of that, me shooting it down, but they insisted that wasn't fair because they usually flew at night.
I've got some gun camera film with the Pippa buried in the open door of a Chinook. that actually got a complaint from the helicopter people.
Oh dear. I love how you integrated yourself and 19 Squadron into the local community. You seem to have done that very well.
It was made for us, and it was all to do with this squadron drink that we invented.
Yes, the Blue Dolphin, a disgusting thing.
It translated straight into German as De Blaue Delfin. And they were exactly the right colours, the same as the local town.
Ah.
And the mayor was a real character called Willy Stein. And he took one look at this and adopted it as the town drink.
Excellent.
And on the Prinzen Frühstück, which is when the carnival prince has his breakfast, which is an alcoholic meal at about 9 o'clock in the morning, Willy Stein had a brandy glass with the biggest blue dolphin you'd ever seen, and he drank the lot.
Perhaps you better explain what's in a blue dolphin.
Right. It's very important that you put the Steinhager in first. That was the white.
The Steinhager.
It was actually clear. Steinhager is a white schnapps.
Ah, okay.
It's a very nice white schnapps, unlike some of them.
Okay.
And then you put the blue in underneath the white.
And what's the blue?
Blue balls.
Okay.
And
How did you get it underneath?
Sorry?
How did you get it underneath?
We went to medical centre and got 1,000cc Schrin.
It sounds complicated.
With a nice little plastic extension. And filled this thing up. And some of the doctors thought this hilarious. Some made you sign all kinds of forms that you weren't going to drug yourself with it. Well, in fact, you were, obviously.
Yeah. Good point.
But a different kind of drug.
Yes.
But the key to it was the 1,000cc syringe. And then you could inject the blue balls underneath the white.
Right. And the ladies enjoyed this?
God, it went down like a sweet rocket, and it went bang inside your stomach. They loved it, more than the blokes.
Oh wow! Excellent. I see that you went on the Royal Air Force Germany Winter Survival course.
Yes,
we both did that in Bad Kolgrup. Which seemed to involve a lot of skiing and drinking. Now, did you actually learn any survival skills?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. How to survive in the winter in the cold, and I think it was very good.
And you did a bit of resistance to interrogation training as well, I gather.
Well, the night my navigator and I were a bit naive. And we decided to walk across the exercise area and just take potluck. And of course, the snow had frozen. So as you walked, your tracks went crunch, crunch, crunch. And we came to a forest track. And we sort of looked left and right. And we had the German ski troops out against us. And we went ding, 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 ding across the track. And this shadow arrived out of a ditch. And we tried to leg it, which was stupid. He was young and fit, and he hadn't got a big pack over his shoulder. And now you are prisoners. and so we followed the rules and submitted meekly. And he was big and strong anyway, and we were knackered. And he took us to a barn in the middle of the jungle, and that was their headquarters. And this very nice German major said, he'd been watching all the movies. He said, for you, the war is over.
Very good.
He said, however, have some chocolate. And he produced a bar of Cadbury's, and he said, it is English, it is very good. Oh, thank you very much.
Oh,
and the Germans gave us soup and coffee, and it was all very nice. And in the middle of this, there was a crunch, 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 and And the door opened, and there was this English voice said, "This looks like a good place to hang up for the night." And, "Good evening. For you, the war is over." and then after we got ourselves thoroughly comfortable with this German Alpine ski mob, and now, sadly, I have to introduce you to a colleague who is not so nice. And we were all shoved in a lorry and dropped off somewhere, and I never found out where because we were blindfolded. And that's when the interrogation took place. And that was quite valuable.
I managed to avoid being captured, so I never got the interrogation.
Well, you're one of the ones who booked a taxi and went straight round to the
No, we were very good. We went down the middle, but we were so delayed by getting lost that they'd almost finished the area and the ski troops had gone off home, I think.
Well, you see, we were stupid. We just crossed fingers and went for it.
Well, he does have quite the stories to tell, Nev.
I'm just amazed how he can. I mean, he did make a lot of notes in his diary at the time, but goodness me, he's got an incredible encyclopedic memory. And it was so nice, of course, that Nick had flown on in a very similar way to that Alan had as well in terms of when he was there. So, no, we've got a couple more parts to come, I'm pleased to say. Just got to do some more editing over the next few days, and we'll have the next two parts ready to play out. So hopefully you're enjoying those, and look forward to hearing the next ones too.
I'm just amazed that their paths never crossed, Nev. Of all the people that that we've been. I mean, when we're in it was in Jersey for the air show.
Yes,
and someone there who knew. Nick.
Well, I think there's a bit of age difference here. So I think Alan, hopefully he doesn't mind me saying, he's 84, and Nick is in his early 70s. So they weren't quite there at exactly the same time, but they all knew the same people. And as Ian and Andy have been talking about, off air today, aviation's quite a small world, generally speaking, whether it's military or commercial, and a lot of people know the same people.
Right, so we're going to start wrapping up the show. But Nev, where can everyone find more about us online?
Yes, if you go onto the social media platforms of Facebook, X or Instagram, just search those social media platforms for Plain Talking UK and you'll find us there. You can email the show, podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, or you can send us a WhatsApp with your pictures and comments, +44 7446 975 214. That's +44 7446 975 214. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as many people have done this evening. So thank you very much, and thank you for all your questions to Ian as well tonight. Really appreciate those. Also, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe as well if you wouldn't mind. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plain Talking UK. The show, of course, does cost us a little bit of money to run. So if you feel you can help us with that, you can become a PayPal or a Patreon member, which helps offset some of the costs of running the show, the media serving costs, the website hosting costs and that kind of thing. So just go to the website, plaintalkinguk.com, and all the details are on there.
Yes, thanks for that, Nev. And as always, we're going to do a quick round robin and see what everyone is up to next week. So we'll start off with you, Nev. Any exciting plans for you and Mrs. Nev next week?
No, actually, although having said that, I'm actually... I've been surprised at how little I've been using the car over the last few weeks, because obviously not working anymore. Yeah. But I'm doing a bit of driving next week, going to see some of my old chums at the local curry house on Monday night. Tuesday, unfortunately, sadly, I've got to go to a funeral up in York for a gentleman that's passed away a few weeks ago, very sadly. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to one of the shows at Ascot. Hopefully Richard Flagg will be there as well, so hopefully see him there as well. So yeah, actually packing quite a lot in next week for a change.
Good. And how about you, Andy? Any exciting, well, hopefully, I mean, when's your next flight going to be? More at the point.
Oh, well, I haven't decided on that yet. At some point. Next week, I am at an Airbus conference. How very exciting, in Paris. That's where I'm spending next week.
Oh, busy week for you then. And going to ask you as well, Ian, as you're our guest tonight, any exciting plans for you for next week?
Well, I have a couple of sessions to do on Saturday this week. Sunday, a bit of relax. The rest of the week probably spent down here messing about with Sims, and then towards the end of the week I'm off on my next round the world trip. So I leave on the 25th, I believe, flying over to the States, and then down to where am I going? Peru, I believe.
Oh wow,
it'll be quite nice. And then off to Easter Island, and then across the Pacific to enjoy the rest of the trip.
And that's all. Is that in the? Is that the 321?
Yeah, 321 Neo. Yeah.
Amazing, absolutely stunning. Well, have fun with that. Make sure you take some pictures. We'd love to see some pictures. That'd be nice to see what life is like there in that neck of the woods. Sounds amazing, Ian. So have a good trip with that.
Will do. Thanks very much. I wish you never asked for pictures now.
And what am I doing? Well, I'm off to, I was going to say sunny, but I'll change that because I looked at the weather report today. I'm off to not so sunny Dublin on Friday, off for a stag weekend, leaving Stansted very early on Friday, off to Dublin, so that'll be fun. And then flying back on Sunday after a weekend of Guinness drinking. And
no, you're not going to be one of those disruptive Ryanair passengers, are you? I hope.
No, I'll have you know I'm going to be very well behaved. I'm in charge on this weekend, so I've got to be the well behaved one. We don't want to be reporting on an incident. No incident. There's only 5 of us, to be fair. It's going to be a little group, but
only takes one to cause trouble, Carlos.
We've all seen it, haven't we? Yes.
Having it, I'm not in 1A, Nev. I'm in 2. I'm sort of 2F. I'm at the window seat, so I'm going to have a nice.
Yeah, you don't like getting wet.
No, I don't like getting wet
when they've got the stairs down, do you?
No. But that's 7-3, especially if it is raining on Friday morning. But that'll be my weekend. Looking forward to that. Going back over to Dublin, hoping to meet up with our awesome friend and listener as well, Alan White, over there. Might hopefully meet up with him for a pint of the black stuff. All being well, so that'll be quite nice. That is it. And thanks to everyone for joining us this evening for the show. A big thank you again to our special guest this evening, Ian, for joining us from the sim, live from the sim, I might add. We'll put the notes in the show notes and links and stuff so you can find out more info on the Sim Centre there with Ian and book yourself up a session there. It is absolutely incredible. As someone who's had a go myself, as we said earlier, the visuals are stunning, and it is well worth a trip if you are in this neck of the woods. I know many of you probably will make the journey over there and have a go. So thanks again, Ian, for joining us tonight, and much appreciated you taking time out your Wednesday night to be with us.
Yeah, thanks very much. I've enjoyed it.
Excellent. Right, Nev, we'll leave you to say goodbye so I can press all the right buttons.
Yes, thanks very much indeed to everybody for joining us tonight. Fascinating insight into Ian's world there with his A320 sim. Brilliant stuff. I'm glad we had another Airbus captain on at the same time so we could have a chat with Andy too. So I hope you have a nice rest of the week and the weekend. We'll be back at 7 o'clock on Wednesday next week. Mind how you go, and bye for now.
There we go.
Dirk S says in the chat room, you'll have to offset the 2 Airbus captains next week by inviting John Jester, our 747-8 pilot.
Do you know what we should do as a special? Because we like doing a special show every now and again, don't we? We should just have a pilots special. Just have as many pilots as we can invite onto the show.
Well, that's going to be like an 8-hour marathon then, isn't it, really? If that would happen. Gosh, lots of pilots in the same place at the same time. It's
we could also possibly invite Pip.
Yes, that's a possibility. Yeah. Yes.
He could...
well, there's a name I haven't heard for a while.
He could tell you all about the Phenom 300. Is it that he flies? Yeah. With Richard Adams has said with Captain Al as compare. Cool, blimey! Can you imagine that, Captain Al comparing a show?
Yes.
My word, Carlos Amsterdam. If that guy's name really was Amsterdam in that ad, I'll be surprised, honestly. Lovely comments in the chat room. Thanks, guys. Mash is saying thanks for the show, everyone. Loved the show, and. We also had Richard E. Flagg. Great show, folks. Nice one. Excellent. And we also... where are we? Had Pip's in the chat room, actually. Nev?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's in there. Pip's in the chat room. Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Excellent. And no, I shan't be ripping any doors off the aircraft to bring home. I mean, I'd love to have a go, but that may not be an option open to me.
Has Ian seen your collection of aircraft parts?
Yeah, Ian is well versed in the collection of pieces.
I'd actually like some Airbus windows if you can get them.
Well, we do have some good friends over at St Athan, in plane reclaimers, who have various pieces of window, which is where that 777 window that's sitting next to me here came from, actually, when we had them on the show a few years ago now, when we had the guys from Plane Reclaimers on.
I actually took an aeroplane into there at the end of its life.
Oh.
One of the 146s went into there.
Yes, have all the bits taken off it.
Yeah. Right, we better say goodbye to the chat room and say again thank you to the chat room for joining us tonight. Lovely to see you all in there. All the usual chat room family. But thanks for tuning in and watching the show this evening. We all really do appreciate it. So, Nev, over to you to say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, well, thanks for being a superb chat room this evening. Thanks for all your questions to Ian, and I'm sure that we'll invite him back on the show again for round 2 at some point as well. So in the meantime, hope you have a nice week and the weekend. Take care of yourselves. See you next week. Bye for now.